Hey everyone, and thanks for tuning into the AFV Factory. I hope you're all well today. So, as promised, but a little bit later than I was planning, we're going to give these Artify dry brushes a go. And as I said in an earlier um, video, this is a combination of me trying a different type of brush. So it'll be me learning and also trying these brushes to see whether they represent a good purchase if that's what you wanted to do. So yeah, let's get on with it and we'll see what sort of results we can get. So here are the brushes. I've got a very old Tamiya Panzer 3 here that I built many years ago, and it's got some good areas that I can play around with dry brushing on this tarp, and also probably on these sandbags, etc. I've picked out some paint. I'm going to be using this German beige purely because I'm hoping it will stand out quite a bit, so that the process is more visible than you may not want to use such a different such a contrasting color, but we'll see how it goes on. It's all a learning all an episode for learning. So yeah, let's crack. So that's the paint nicely shaken up. Let's see, it's quite old, this bottle, so we'll have a quick look and see what it comes out like. Oh yeah, that's fine. Steady as we go, I think, is the one of the keys to this. It was made very clear that you do not want to get too much paint on the brush. You especially don't want it sort of migrating down to the bottom. The paint must stay essentially on the very tip here. In the past, I've used flat brushes, like most people, I think. They're normally quite good for the type of dry brushing that I've done. This brush is obviously has got a much larger head to it, so it's going to hold a lot more paint. So I'm going to have to be careful, I think, that it's not overly painted. So let's crack on. Let's see, get a bit of paint on the brush. Let's brush that off. I mean, you can see how much paint's coming off, and so it would be immediately, it seems to me that it would be very easy to overdo the paint and end up with something that looks very unnatural because it's just got too much paint on it. Let's try that just as an experiment and see what results we come up against. So just going to go over these creases here. Right, so initially I thought it wasn't doing anything, that I'd taken too much paint off, but no, and I may well have taken slightly too much off. That control where you're choosing how much paint to leave in the brush before you start applying it is obviously a learning experience. And as I said before, that you better start off with too little and have to re-go over it than put too much on, and then you end up in a position where you've got to repaint the entire thing. So I don't know how well that is showing up to you there. Hopefully you can see just that, just slightly highlighted, and then you can see down into the sort of dark shadowy areas, which is the original colour of this tarp. And if you'll pick up these the rings around the barrel that are showing through the tarp. Yeah, and it is working. I mean, so it really does show that it's one of those less is more situations, because I was convinced that that was going to be an insufficient amount of paint on that brush to really make much of a difference, and it is very subtle. You know, I would try and keep things in the screen. If this was a kit that I'd just built, or when I'd next do something that incorporates dry brushing, you can see that the effects are quite immediate and definitely worth doing. I think, again, I don't know how that is. So try and get a bit more paint on, and then I'll carry on round where the tarp covers over this spare road wheel. Well, I mean, that is quite impressive, I think. You know, a little bit of work, and certainly no skill on my behalf, just simply following what I've been told. I think that has drastically improved that tarp. You know, I don't know what you think, but you know, and it is a subtle thing. It's not a a big color change or something that stands out because you want to get some bit of color variation in. It's just something that's a bit subtle, and it's highlighting these high spots on the barrel, and which is exactly how it would be if this barrel was covered over in reality with a tarp. If it had been on there for a long time, you know, these higher levels get stretched out and they get a bit more sun bleached, and the inner areas do stay darker. and plus it just gives a bit more visuality. Is that right? Is that a word? Gives more, certainly gives more depth to your model. It's it brings that to life, which is sort of quite important to, in my book, um, that you can add something that draws the eye and but is realistic. It's it just makes it takes away the fact that this is a tank made of plastic, and it starts to look like a real metal steel tank. I know that this doesn't look like that because this was a very early job of mine that I did, and it's heavily over weathered. But again, that was all a learning process. But you know, brushes aside, that's a good result in my book anyway. Um, so I'm going to give this brush a good clean, and I'll leave it there for now. Let me know what you think. I'll carry on, I'll carry on with this process and see how far I can take it, and it's and improve my abilities as well. But yeah, that seems to be quite simple and relatively easy. Uh, so yeah, I'll leave it there. Thanks for tuning in. Subscribe and like if you want. That's always appreciated. Otherwise, I'll catch up with you soon.